I don't know that I would necessarily call it the CIA, but he was working with CIA operatives. And the things that are public that you can look at.
So we're talking about Paul Kane, one of the Kansas City Prophets. This is just a fascinating piece of the puzzle that I had missed along the way. I mean, I knew about the family, but I did not know about this. My pastor, Mr. Morrison, was an ex-Branhamite. You know, he had came for the Brethren, and went into he was a Branhamite basically. They followed the William Branham, and he asked me to come. You know, I says Paul Kane's going to Livingston. This is in Scotland, 1991. Must have been when about then. Yep. I says, look, I'm going to maybe give it a miss because there's certain people there that I maybe didn't want to see. He says, no, we're going. And testing the spirit. And he just, he didn't sit for long. And he just refused to sit and said that it wasn't of God. That was his take on Mr. Kane. But I always wondered is there some sort of rivalry there? But it turns out that Paul Kane had a connection to William Branham, so I'm fascinated by this. I mean, it's pure church history.
So there is this group, you can watch the Netflix documentary called The Family. It's the, you've seen the documentary where they're influencing senators and congressmen, et cetera. Well, William Branham's and Paul Kane's campaign manager during those revivals was a director on the board of that institution that was establishing those things. And they were establishing those in a network globally. It wasn't just in Washington, D.C. So when you read about the National Prayer Breakfast and all of the chaos that ensues because the evangelicals are persuading politics, et cetera, and you find this big war between liberals and evangelical Republicans, we'll picture that globally because it's not just in the United States that this is happening. So Paul Kane was involved with all of that, and this guy likely was CIA. I don't know. There's no way to prove that, but his name was William T. Frary von Blomberg, the adopted cousin of Adolf Hitler's Minister of Defense, Werner von Blomberg. So this guy had a presence in Germany, and that's why Paul Kane got involved with Germany. And then they set up the colony that I mentioned. Well, that colony was also tied to the Nixon prior to the Nixon administration, but Nixon was also involved in it as president and vice president. Nixon gave these guys charge at the National Prayer Breakfast to use their religious influence to sway the mindset against communism and help stir up the communist scare. So there's all these government ties. And then beyond that, there's some information I can't yet release, but hopefully soon I'll be able to. But it appears that he was at minimum working with operatives who were working in MK Ultra, potentially. It was either that or a division of the government that existed after that. So I wouldn't say directly CIA, but I can assure you that there were likely CIA operatives in those meetings because when you think of...
I mean, my experience is